Hi there, my name is Michael and I'm the founder of Prospectology. And in this video, we are going to be speaking about how to use LinkedIn voice notes to yield a 35% reply rate. So in the video, expect me to show you why I use voice notes as part of my everyday outreach while I'm reaching out cold to my personas slash ICPs. I'm also going to show you some of the mistakes that reps make when they first start using voice notes. I'm also going to chuck in an example script that I would follow if I was first starting out as an example, just to show you how that looks. And lastly, I'm also chucking in a semi-automatic clay workflow using that alongside a growth machine. So stay into the end so you can actually see what that looks like. So my name is Michael again, and I'm the founder of Prospectology, and we help fintech clients build the top of their funnel without increasing their headcount. Now, I've worked in bootstrap startups over the last 5 to 6 years across SaaS, fintech, and most recently open banking payments. And one of the outreach methods that I used was LinkedIn voice notes, right? So as you can see on the screen right now, there are a ton of social proof here while I was using voice messages to stand out from the crowd and book in some really, really good calls with some enterprise level customers at the time. So why voice notes, right? So there's different reasons why to use voice notes, but the main reason I like to use voice notes is because they stand out from the crowd, right? So a lot of your personas or your ICPs are being hit left, right, and center in the DMs with and being pitched at with text messages, right? So LinkedIn messages, left, right, and center, they're being hit. So how do we actually stand out with these noisy inboxes? And one of the reasons, or one of the ways we can stand out, is voice messages, right? So voice messages for me are crucial. They can be very time consuming, but they are bespoke and tailored to the individual. And I'm going to show you again, like I said at the start of this video, a script of what it looks like and how you can actually use that today. So why use them? So as I said, loads of reps are sending long-winded messages. We can stand out from noisy inboxes using voice messages. And one thing I would like to stress is that, like this individual here, when I sent this prospect a voice message, they couldn't see the preview of the text like you can with text messages. So 9 out of 10, I guarantee you, if your prospect is, sort of active on LinkedIn, and they post regularly, or not even just posting regularly, they're always on LinkedIn to a good standard. 9 out of 10, they will click play here and actually hear what you got to say, right? So it creates curiosity. The prospect wants to hear, why have I received a 30 to 40-second voice note from Michael at Prospectology? What has he got to say that he couldn't say in text messages? So for me, it's a good pattern interrupt. It's personable. So after the boom of AI, we're seeing even more inboxes being flooded every single day. So your personas are being hit with a lot of AI generated messaging. So voice notes humanize your profile, even though you can actually clone your voice using AI and actually automate that at scale with the growth machine, for example. But yeah, voice notes humanize your profile. It's not just a profile on the screen, you actually add a voice. And you can actually add some authenticity to your messaging slash outreach. So we can actually show our passion and our energy. So always make it high volume, high momentum, and show your passion, your energy, and not just keep it robotic. So for me, the best practice is to keep it very short and sweet. 30 to 40 seconds long maximum. Use bullet points. So instead of reading off a script, even though I'm going to show you a script in a second, that as an example, try not to read off a script. Make it flow naturally, right? So we can always hear, if I used to send voice notes to myself, and you can actually hear that you're reading off a script. So make sure it flows naturally. Be less robotic and be more human-like a conversationalist, which is really well. And if you can do it really good, you should yield a 30 to 35% reply rate. And just FYI, you can only send LinkedIn voice messages through the LinkedIn app. And you can't do that through desktop. So just to make you aware of that. And yeah, we can use the growth machine, which is a multi-channel outreach tool to actually automate the connections, the follow-ups, and actually clone your voice using AI. But I would say for now, use a manual approach, and I'm going to show you how that looks inside Clay, a semi-automatic workflow. Some of the common mistakes that we see with a lot of reps is, like I said before, reading off a script sounds robotic. Sounds a little bit jarring, so make sure it's high volume, your energy's high volume, sorry, and you're not talking too fast. Like I have a tendency of talking way too fast while I'm pitching, while I'm on client calls, discovery calls, and I realized I had to slow it down a little bit. I've got so much energy and passion. I want to just get all the information out, but sometimes it's all about slowing it down, making sure it's clear and coherent, so your prospect can actually understand what you're trying to say. Making it all about you. So don't make the LinkedIn voice message all about you. So that goes the same for cold calling, that goes the same for cold emailing. But in the voice message, you've only got 20-30 seconds to keep it engaging, short and sharp and sweet. So make sure it's all about them and not about your solution, right? So if you've noticed a pattern about them, if you've noticed an observation about them, or something like a trigger-based outreach works really well in this scenario, it's not make it about them as opposed to yourself. Again, in the voice message, try your best not to ask for a call in the initial message unless you've had some sort of previous outreach with the individual. But always share value up front, or ask if they'd like to see something of value that you can just share with them. So asking for a call straight away without providing any sort of value, from my understanding or my experience, is going to be a waste of time. So there's a 4-part framework to actually follow, right? So again, test this, tweak this as much as you can with your ICPs or your market that you're going to market to. But I found that a 4-part framework works really well, which is observation. So what is the variable that you've observed about the individual or the key stakeholder that you can actually mention in the message? It could be, for example, hi, notice you're hiring for SDRs. Does that mean you're looking to go to market? La 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 la. Or it could be, notice you're using Stripe at checkout, which I'm going to show you an example of how that looks on a script. I know you're using Stripe at checkout, which means, they're probably charging you 1.5% plus 20p, which can be extortionate, of course. So you can actually use that observation, that variable, to be relevant to the key stakeholder, as opposed to just a pray and spray tactic that a lot of us probably used to do back in the day. So, observation variable, hi John, noticed you're using Stripe, blah, 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 and within the first 0 to 10 seconds. So keep it short, sharp, and engaging, and mention something that's relevant to that prospect. Secondly, cost of inaction. So if you carry on with the observation, this will lead to X result. So if you carry on with X scenario, Y would be the result. So mention the cost of inaction. Why is that important? So if you keep doing the same thing, this is going to carry on leading to that result. So it is a negative connotation, but it shows the prospect in that voice message that you actually understood what the issue is before you even spoken to the individual, which works really, really well. Again, I'm going to show you an example script of that. Social proof. I hear a lot of people or experts on LinkedIn and in general say, social proof has been used too much. Nobody cares. La la la. But I say otherwise. I say social proof is so important. Tell the prospect why, tell the prospect how you've helped a similar company in a similar vertical, and this was the result after helping them. So that works. That works really well still to this day, and I would definitely include that in your voice messaging. And then lastly, have a low friction call to action. So like I said at the start of this particular slide here, don't just go in, all guns blazing and say, can we jump on a call? It does work, don't get me wrong. As you can see in some of the messaging that I sent at the start of this video, it does work. But I think nowadays we're at a situation where we have to provide value before we can actually ask for some sort of time from the prospect. So again, I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second. But keep everything light and conversational. Keep it natural, as if you're leaving a voice note for one of your mates. To a professional level, of course, but yeah, like you're leaving a voice note, keep it professional, keep it light-hearted, and make sure you do not record for more than 40 seconds at a time. So keep it short, sharp, and engaging. So this is an example script. Again, this is like very vague, but like if I was selling open banking payments to e-commerce brands, which I'll show you in a second, a workflow inside Clay, how that looks. But yeah, this is a script example. So hi John, I noticed you're using Stripe, which is the payment provider, at checkout for your customers with fees like 1.5% plus 20p per transaction. Over time, this will eat into your company profit. So I have an understanding of the industry of payments in particular, and I know that Stripe can be very extortionate when it comes to transaction fees, right? So this is where I've observed the variable and I've scraped this information at scale using the likes of inside Clay, using Clay Agent or using AI. So I've been able to scrape that and actually take their tech stack using Built With, which again I'm going to show you, and actually identify what is the variable, what is the observation that I found that I want to talk about inside the messaging. So I know Stripe again is very expensive, extortionate, and to be honest with you, like while I was selling open banking a year or two ago, I actually had to manually go into the customers or e-commerce brand's website, go to checkout all the way to the end manually, and actually go to purchase something or pretend to purchase something to see what payment options they have at checkout. So now that's a very manual approach. But while I was doing that and I was doing the messaging around that, it worked really, really well because because the prospect understood that I knew what their current tech stack looked like from a payment processing point of view. So that worked really well. So now we can use the likes of Clay Agent to kind of scrape that at scale, which works really well because which we can therefore use inside of our messaging to talk about the observation slash variable, which obviously shows the prospect that you've done your research and it's super relevant to the prospect. So going back to the message, so yeah, we've noticed that they're using Stripe. So most e-commerce brands don't realize it, but staying with that step cost them over 30,000 annually in payment processing fees. So this is what I spoke about in the framework. So cost of inaction. So if they carry on doing the same thing, they're going to have £30,000 annually in payment processing fees. So we've had some social proof at the time, and some companies were actually saving over 2,500 on fees with Stripe fees with open banking, while adding open banking at their checkout. So yeah, we helped client name add open banking to their checkout, and now they save over 2,500 per month on transaction fees. So that is the social proof. So this is kind of a vague example, but we helped clients do X and Y was the result. So they ended up saving £2,500 per month on transaction fees. And that is a real use case, by the way, guys. That is the reality. So, and then lastly, the soft call to action, right? So don't be aggressive. Don't share nothing of value. It's all about initiating a conversation initially. So I wouldn't go in and say, yeah, can we have a call straight away, because everybody's doing that as well. So would it be okay if I shared a one pager showing how we did this for them? So that soft CTA, it works, doesn't always work, but it's good that you're actually kind of showing value or asking them if they would like to see a one pager on the case study for more information, so they can actually see if it would work the same for them. So make sure the case study that you're going to share with them is a similar company in a similar vertical, and it's all number driven as well, so they can actually see what the result was. So yeah, this is just an example script that I would follow: observation, cost of inaction, social proof, and then a soft call to action, and making sure that it's value driven. So now I'm going to show you a simple workflow inside of Clay and how we can actually use that to send LinkedIn voice messages to yield a 35% reply rate. Hey guys, so now I'm showing you a simple Clay workflow. So I found a load of e-commerce brands. I found a bunch of key stakeholders, the personas like head of payments, CFOs, finance directors, all of the personas that I feel are relevant when talking about payments. And I actually used Built With integration to actually enrich that and find what payment provider they were using at their checkout. So that's, remember what I said in the video, we can actually now find this at scale instead of me manually going in one by one to every single website to identify what payment options they have at checkout. So I was able to actually identify one step further as well, who is the main payment provider they're using at their checkout. And as you can see, a lot of these e-commerce brands are using Stripe. And then what I was able to do was actually get all of this information as well as enrich the customers, or sorry, the personas, and actually push all of that information via webhook to the Growth Machine. So the Growth Machine, if you're not aware, is a multi-channel outreach tool. So you can do emailing on there. You can also send LinkedIn voice messages at scale using AI, which clones your voice. But in this workflow here, all I did was simply just push all of the leads, as well as tagging the custom attribute, which would be the main payment provider. So as you can see here, in all the different key stakeholders that I found, I was also able to push through the information that I found and enrich with Built With inside of Clay. So that tells me I know which payment provider they're using at checkout at scale, that I can actually talk about in the observation to make it super hyper personalized to the key stakeholder. So the workflow is very simple. Again, this is just an example purpose. So I would start this campaign. I would make sure we visit their profile, we add the connection, it automates all of that. But in the send message section, so in this scenario here, I can actually switch to voice messaging and actually clone my voice to say, hi, John. So the growth machine would take part of that first part of the message, clone my voice, say that to me, and then it will go straight into the message. But because I want to make this super hyper personalized, we actually can't record at scale the custom attribute. In this case, it would be Stripe or PayPal. So you actually have to do that manually. So what I actually did was actually add in a manual check. So once the key stakeholder has connected with me, actually part of the campaign sequence step would be for me to actually go in, find the key stakeholder once I've connected with them, and actually send them a manual voice message following the script that I showed you before, very similar. So, hi John, I noticed you're using Stripe at checkout for your customers. They tend to charge 1.5% plus 20B, blah, 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 blah. So you catch my drift there. So by using this workflow here, it is not fully automated, it's more semi-automatic. But what we're doing is we're getting the information inside of Clay, the variable or the trigger that we've actually noticed on the key stakeholder, and then pushing it into a sending tool that looks just like the growth machine, and then going ahead to actually add a manual step for me to go ahead and actually send them a voice message that is relevant to the key stakeholder. So using this whole entire workflow or using LinkedIn voice messages, if you do it correctly and follow a similar script to what I've shown you today, you should yield a 35% reply rate. Thanks guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you took some nuggets from this video. Please like, subscribe, and I hope to do a lot more videos like this in the future. My name is Michael and I'm the founder of Prospectology, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.